I really don't like the fact that in modern Hollywood they seem to be over reliant on remakes and reboots and sequels and anything that isn't original. That it's lazy in my opinion. However, I always do give remakes the benefit of the doubt. The reason being is The Fly and The Thing, two of my favourite sci-fi horror movies, are both remakes. And in this day and age, even though, I know it's kind of false hope and kind of naive to believe that a film could come along that's better than the original, I always do give them the benefit of the doubt because I'd like to think if I ever directed a remake, people would give it the benefit of the doubt. Fright Night is a film I really enjoyed, the original that is. I've always been a fan of the original. It's a great late night movie to watch with friends. Going into this film, I didn't know what to expect. The reason I wanted to see it were the actors involved. I thought all the actors, Colin Farrell, David Tennant, Anton Yelchin, Toni Collette, I thought all these actors are really good, and I would like to see what they do in a remake of Fright Night. Right off the bat, I want to say, I really enjoyed this movie. For what it was, I thought this is a fun vampire romp that is, well, it's not better than the original, it's not as good as the original, but in this day and age of Twilight really, having the vampire market cornered and monopolising the horror genre, so to speak. I think this is kind of a breath of, not necessarily fresh air, but it's a breath of air that basically harkens back to the old-fashioned vampire tale with a modern twist, and I really enjoyed this this aspect of it, and the film in general I thought was really quite good. Now it follows a plot, and I'm sure you're already all aware of the plot, but basically Anton Yelchin plays Charlie, who lives next door to Jerry, who is a vampire who is killing the neighbourhood, girls that live around there and families as well. And it's basically, if I had to sum it up, it's like Dracula meets Disturbia. And I say Disturbia, not Rear Window. It's very similar in style to Disturbia. It's a DreamWorks Pictures as well. And I did think, you will have remembered if you've seen my review of Super 8, I said that tried really hard to be an Amblin film from the 80s and kind of failed because it was trying a bit too hard. This feels like something akin to those 80s teen horror movies, and that's one of the aspects that I really like about it. Now, I thought straight away it opens with a belter of a sequence, actually, of a guy hiding under his parents' bed trying to load a gun while a vampire is stalking him around the house. And I thought this was really quite unnerving and frightening, and it goes a long way to build tension. The only problem with the opening of the film is that it doesn't have a third act. Seriously, 5 minutes into the film, we have Christopher Mintz-Plass's character explaining to Charlie. Christopher Mintz-Plasse plays a character called Ed. So Ed's basically explaining to Charlie that, look, you have a vampire living next door to you. Or loads of people have been disappearing. We need to break into his house and find out what's up. And I'm thinking, well, isn't this happening about 20-25 minutes too early? Don't we need to get to know these characters first and get to know why he suspects Jerry of being a vampire? But it skips all that and it goes straight into the second act. Now, while I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, it's just skipping to get to the action, to get to the horror. Like, why aren't we building characters? Although, having said that, slowly over the course of the film, you grow to love the characters, or at least, I grew to really like them, and actually did care about them when they start getting threatened by this vampire. The best aspects of this movie is just how fun it is, for one. It really is fun, and it's not afraid to make fun of films like Twilight, which I kind of respected. There's a sequence where Christopher Mintz-Plasse's character, Ed, is basically saying to Charlie, look, this guy, this vampire, he's not a lovesick puppy, he's not a misunderstood loner, he's the fucking shark from Jaws. He will do nothing but eat and destroy everything around him. And I thought, yes, this is how vampires should be treated in cinema. They are not cuddly little stuffed monsters. They are bastards, and they are evil. They are the devil's spawn, which is how they're treated in this movie, and I really quite like that. That's how you build a villain. You don't show him for a while, and you basically just allude to how evil he is. And I thought that was really good at building tension and building almost dramatic irony throughout the course of the film. And not only that, you have another really fun aspect of the performances. Colin Farrell playing it as sleazy as possible, but doing really well with it. I found him to be quite threatening. I do like Colin Farrell. I always have, despite like Alexander and stuff like that he's made. In Bruges was his comeback, which was fantastic, and he's great in this as well. I thought he was brilliant as Jerry the Vampire. You've also got David Tennant, who played Doctor Who for a while, playing Peter Vincent, the character originally played by Roddy McDowall, and he takes such a different approach to the character. Instead of an aging television host, he's a young Las Vegas magician. He is essentially Russell Brand on steroids, and I really enjoyed the character. I did think going in, if he's just going to be playing somebody like Russell Brand, he's going to get on my nerves and I'm not going to like him, but they did add layers and depth to his character that you aren't expecting. He does believe in vampires because of something that happened in his childhood and things like this, and he's quite an interesting character, and he also has most of the laugh out loud moments, such as a stake gun which he bought off eBay, and he's trying to shoot vampires with it, and it jams, and he's like, "Fuck you, eBay!" That made me laugh. I like that kind of thing. In a film like this, when you're not expecting much, it's not high art, it's not going to be a masterpiece. When it's just fun and funny like that, I really enjoy it, and for those reasons, I thought the film really succeeded. Now, as I mentioned, the film really does fall down because of its lack of a first act, which I found to be really quite jarring and odd. I couldn't wrap my head around how it just launched straight into the second act. It was really peculiar. But despite this, and despite a few scenes of wonky CGI, and despite being shot on digital, so in the dark sequences, the effects do look a bit cheap and naff. Despite all these shortcomings, which are filmmaking techniques more than anything, it's down to the filmmakers. I thought that this was a really fun, enjoyable romp. I like any vampire film that treats vampires with respect and isn't afraid to have a jab at the piece of shit that is Twilight. I really respect that, and for those reasons, I would highly recommend Fright Night. If you liked the original, it's really nothing like the original. The narrative's similar, the characters have the same names, but they're really not the same characters as the original film at all. It's just another retelling of that story, and if you like the original and you go into this one, forget about the original and just take this for what it is, an entertaining distraction of a fun vampire romp with great performances. It's lots of fun, and you could do a lot worse at the cinema. So for those reasons, I recommend Fright Night.